React to the rhythm.
So we are about 7 minutes, a bit more than that away from this race. Track temperature, as you can see, 24 degrees. It's a close circuit, this one. 14 corners if you count the chicane as 2, and some of them do. The best one is where it says S2 there in the middle sector. They call it triple, 3 left-hand corners in a row, and if you get that right, it is the most satisfactory thing. Pole position in GT2 has changed, as we know, but it's as it was in GT1. Alex Muller, and there he is with Haley.
Alex, this is your first pole with Vitaphone, which is exactly where you want to start here at your home track.
Yes, I'm very happy for the team, for myself, that we find a good qualifying setup yesterday to put the car on pole position.
I wish you luck, Alex. Enjoy the racing.
Thank you.
He's in the zone there. That's his job at the moment, and it's always difficult, I think, for us, because we want to hear from the drivers at this particular moment in time. But Alex Muller finding time to speak to us, even though he couldn't probably hear the question with his crash helmet on, he got a good idea of what we wanted to know and gave us his answer for that. But he's now closing the rest of us out. In a minute they're going to close the door on the car, and he's just going to try and shut himself into that first turn, because this is what he's got to deal with. He knows that the power of the Celine and Carl Wendlinger at the wheel of it means that the long run down to turn 1 from the start could see him lose his pole position, and he wants to make sure he controls the start. And he's got Xavier Masson behind him on row 2 as well, so it's not just Wendlinger he needs to worry about, is it?
No, it's going to be a busy first corner. The layout is now a 90-degree left, and it's very, very tight turn 1. In support races we've already seen the difficulties down there. We managed to have a clean start on the GT3 race yesterday, but who knows what these big boys are going to get up to down into turn 1. Of course, there's always this notion that you can't win the race at the first corner, but you can lose it there, and people like Andrea Bertolini have been doing this long enough to know that that is the truth. That's
an interesting thing, because the number 2 car just a little bit in front of the number 1 car in qualifying, and that probably is the result of the extra weight on board in the number 1.
Yeah.
And you can see that reflected in their lap times. It's difficult to get the car stopped and started and turned as well. Second of the Celines there, Mario Dominguez in the number 18 K plus K Motorsport. And he's doing rather better than some of our other Celines. We'll find them at the back of the grid or even in pit lane. Bert Longin starting the SRT Corvette.
Yes, and that's not a bad result. There's James Ruffier, co-driver this year with Bert in the SRT car. SRT came in first to this championship as a visitor, didn't they, at Paul Ricard a couple of seasons ago when we were down there, and liked it so much they came to play permanently, and they've had a good time of it.
Bert Longin, one of the fit drivers on the grid. One of the questions we've had by email is about fitness, and he is one of the ones who takes it most seriously, and Anthony Kumpen as well. And on the grid we've got our new GT2 poleman, and that's Martin Rajinger.
Martin, you've inherited pole position, but you're certainly picking up some great times in qualifying.
Yeah, it's my second pole position in a row, so it's good. Today it will be tough because I'm not sure about the weather. It looks like that rain will come. So I try to defend my position. Bruni is second. He's a very experienced driver, so it will be tough to defend, but we will see. The first corner will be very interesting.
Well, good luck. Thank you.
He said it, didn't he? The first corner will be very interesting. Mid-grid, it's going to, whichever racetrack you go to, if you're at the front of the GT2 pack, you're in the middle of a pack of getting on towards 30 cars, and it's any first corner is going to be interesting. But if you saw the map earlier on when we were looking at it, turn 1 here at Oschersleben is a 90 left. It is nothing else to describe it. It's a square left, isn't it? It's a horrible corner as it was.
It is now, and it's a shame because in the past it was a nice swooping left-right, but that meant the cars carried so much speed into the next corner that it got downright dangerous. There's Jimmy Bruni, who will be driving, I think, the heaviest GT2 car. Well, no, not quite. That goes to the Pro Speed, doesn't it? The second heaviest GT2 car, but we've seen somehow that AF Corsa managed that very well.
Yes, well, I think Jimmy Bruni is generally reckoned to be very good with a heavy car. He's got a very nice light touch.
Yes, he certainly has.
He manages to finesse it around a racetrack and keep its tyres together, and that is really the secret of doing well here, is a long first stint on your tyres with nice solid lap times without destroying the rubber, and that really leaves you well placed for the second part of the race.
Yeah, we should just mention while we're looking down through the grid, a couple of cars will be starting from the pit lane because they didn't, for various reasons, make it out into qualifying yesterday. The first of those is a Celine. Johnny Molam will be sharing with Fernando Monfardini in the number 13 full-speed racing car, and they will be starting from pit lane. Monfardini taking the start. The other car is the Matek Ford GT, Thomas Much. They had an engine rebuild yesterday, which they elected to take their time over because they would have been penalised 10 spots on the grid anyway, so why run the risk of bodging the job by rushing it? So that was why they're in the back of the field. They will join on at the back of the green flag lap.
We're on board in the cockpit of the Nismo GTR, and I presume we have Michael Crum starting, do we? Yes, in the number 35 car. Get some interesting graphics from that when it's going, and you get a good idea of speeds and braking points on the circuit, so watch out for that on the onboards as we continue to scroll through our grid, and we wait for the signal that starts the formation lap here behind the Wiesmann GT leading car. We've had a lap around this circuit in that car, and not only did it give us a good appreciation of the Wiesmann GT, but a fine appreciation of this circuit, and in particular just how much fun that triple is when you click all those apexes off in one big swoop. They'll all be trying to do that because smooth driving and fast lap times are going to be the name of the game when this third round of the FIA GT Championship gets underway. Following it round with the yellow flag, just so you know not to overtake it. And Alex Muller set free for the first time this year. This is going to be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and he is a man with ambition. He really does want to excel. It's partly a personal thing for him. He wants his CV to be improved.
Don't we all?
Yeah. Well, he was third at Le Mans last weekend, which will do him no harm at all, with his old sparring partners at Jet Alliance in the Aston Martin. Lucas Littner-Hoyer, regulars will remember from previous seasons, until finances got the better of them, as they have for so many teams, of course. Lucas Littner-Hoyer and the Jet Alliance team used to have two cars here, in fact won this event with the first and second last year for Aston Martin. So Aston Martin not featuring in the GT1 competition this year, but they are back in GT2 for us with the Hexas car. We're having a look back now from the pole-sitting GT2 car of Martin Ragginger. The Brixia Racing Porsche coming on board in the championship this year.
Little specks on the camera there are not, I don't believe at this particular moment, rain. They're just little bits of dirt that have been spat up. So at the moment we don't have rain anywhere on the circuit. And we have a dry race. They are starting on dry tyres. They've got two sets. This is the set they qualified with, so they're already slightly warm. And as we say, the whole trick about this is to make those go an hour. They're all brim full of petrol. The tank size maximum is 100 litres of petrol, so they're all full up with fuel to try and run the full hour and make the most of this set of tyres, and then make the second set last for the second hour. That's the plan anyway. We are on board in the number 1 Maserati, looking ahead at the number 2. That's not the way the Vitaphone team would have planned it, and as we say, it has for the first time set free Alex Müller, jousting slightly with Carl Wendlinger as they come up to this point on the circuit where they assume their grid positions. The run to the first corner is going to be critical. They both know that. It's Alex Müller who should control this race when the leading car, the Wiesmann GT, pulls aside into pit lane. The pole man takes charge of the race. There comes the moment. Müller is in control. They're fat with fuel. Their heartbeats are up around 200 beats a minute. 20,000 horsepower waiting for the green light as we start the third round of the FIA GT Championship in Oschersleben. Away goes Alex Müller. He's got Wendlinger on side. And up comes the SRT Corvette to grab. And second place almost. He is in there in the mix. They've touched. They're all off. Everybody's involved. That's 3 cars off at turn 1. Müller and the SRT car and everyone else just bouncing across the curbs. And they've all got going again. I don't think there's anybody left there, but we have got a Corvette in the lead, and it's Mike Hazeman.
Yeah. Just at the moment, but only just from Bert Longin, with the other K-Plus Celine up into third place, with the top 3 all having eliminated each other from the proceedings early on. Ford GT, they're running wide. Baz Leinders at the wheel, and Jimmy Bruni well up in the mix, having taken the GT2 lead from the pole sitter Martin Ragginger.
Hazeman, Longin and Mario Dominguez, as you say. Then it's Luke Hines and Baz Leinders sit at the wheel only just. Yes. And we're looking back from Martin Ragginger, who's dropped off his GT2 lead. Well, turn 1 provided the excitement that none of us really wanted. That run to the first corner was always going to be a breathtaking one. Oops. And that's an unexpected little moment for who's at the wheel of that one at the moment, Matthias Russo.
Matthias Russo started that. So what will be interesting now will be to watch the first row and a half of the grid trying to make their way back up through the field, assuming that they are all healthy.
It depends whether they're undamaged. That incident under investigation, unsurprisingly, from race control, but I think when you try and get 3 wide into a 90-degree corner at 150 kilometres an hour, there is going to be trouble, isn't there?
Yeah, and Alex Müller just got thoroughly squeezed from both sides. There's Celine on one side and the Corvette on the other, and it just wasn't going to work.
And there's no cars left there, and I'm looking, where are they? They into pit lane, there's no red lights coming on, so I think they must all be out there on track trying to assess what the damage was and whether they can continue.
Right, Xavier Martin has come into the pits.
He has.
Thomas Much has come into the pits, but that's for a stop-go, which they have to have for the engine change. So that should be okay. That should rejoin without too much trouble. The more concern would be for Xavier Martin in the Luc Alphand Corvette.
That was very much involved in that turn 1 incident. There is the number 1 Maserati. So Alex Müller set free is what we were hoping for. There is the 19 car. That's the Luc Alphand Aventure, and as you say, it was with the emphasis on thick, in the thick of that.
Yep.
A little bit of dust. Don't worry about that. That's just running wide on the edge of the track. Hazeman leads it from Longin and then Dominguez. Then we've got a bit of a gap back to Luke Hines.
Yep.
And then this man, Andrea Bertolini.
He seems to have come best out of the early upsets, doesn't he?
Yes. But where is the number 2 car at the moment? It's not. Is it on yours? It's not on my screen.
No, everybody's there. So
it's got to be here somewhere. Here he is, 18th place, right down the bottom of the page, and just set his the best middle sector time of the race. So we can assume, I think, that there's not much wrong with it.
No, he's making his way up through the field in the back of the last shot. We just saw him making his way past a couple more GT2 cars, but this is the GT2 lead battle at the moment. Jimmy Bruni just holding off from the Martin Ragginger Porsche there, and we're on board with Martin now.
And he won't be happy to have lost his pole position, but he knew that first turn was going to be a busy one. And to be quite honest, if you come out of it second in GT2 and untouched, I think you've done rather well, whoever you are. Bruni, of course, ever the opportunist, has stolen the lead, but that car is heavy. It'll get a little bit quicker as you start to see the speed of the Maserati. We're riding with Bertolini, and in front of him, Luke Hines in the Celine, bouncing across the curb. See how difficult it is. This racetrack up is full of car in front of him, absolutely full of car. He's faster, but he can't find a way past. This is one of the classic places on the back straight coming up towards the S's, but no outbraking opportunities. We've seen a little bit of sneaky overtaking going on here on this right-hander, dropping down towards the start-finish straight, but nothing this time. And the classic moment is braking for turn 1, but as we have already seen, that can go horribly.
It has its own perils, doesn't it,
Yes,
Richard?
doesn't it?
Side by side, Bertolini has come out of the drop, but not able to out-accelerate the Celine, the turbo Celine that just holding the pace. However, Bertolini much better under the brakes in spite of the extra weight on that Maserati, and takes the place. So that's Bertolini up to 4th.
Well, Andrea Bertolini looking very smooth indeed, but that's what we expect. Let's have a look and see how Alex Müller is getting on. Where is the number 2 car? He's moved up quite a lot.
Yeah.
He's found his way basically through the GT2s, and he's attached to the back end of the Nismo. There he is, in the middle of this pack. We're on board with him now, and in front of him...
I think that's the Luc Alphon car having rejoined Xavier Martin.
Yes. You can tell by the gaffer tape on the front that holds it together, duct tape if you're in that business. And Müller, I can't see any signs of damage on this car. I think he just got squashed, as you say, in turn 1 and carried off between the two of them. They all went straight on and took him with them.
Yes, well, I think Xavier Martin was tucked up the inside and unable to make the corner. As Martin straight lined the corner, he simply took Müller with him, and by extension Wendlinger. So all three of them ended up going off to the wrong wrong part of the circuit, diving down the inside, looking for a way past Martin, but he's not going to make it stick there.
And of course this is for, well, it won't be for position, so I would bet that Masson is at least a lap down on this, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He's 2 laps adrift of the leader as we look at the timing screens.
So
and,
really there should be a blue flag for him at this point in time.
In theory, yes. Very disappointing too for Alex Müller, having done all the hard work to get up onto the front row, then to be nerfed all the way back down to the bottom of the field. He's got a lot of work to do this afternoon before handing over to Miguel Ramos.
Well, he's doing it, Graham, isn't he? He just glued to the back end of that Corvette, and he tried to go through with it past the GT2 Ferrari, but it didn't happen. So now he's got to do it by himself, and there is the pass, nice and easy. Passaroda, long left, balance it on the throttle, resist the temptation to squeeze it until you can see the apex on the far side and then go. And that is one of the features of this racetrack. Too much throttle too soon and you will be joining the insects in the grass. And it's so tempting because some of these corners just go on and on and on and on and on.
As will this battle, I suspect, all afternoon between Ferrari and Porsche. They're glued together, these two cars. Jimmy Bruni in the Ferrari ahead of us. We're on board with Martin Ragginger in the Brixia Racing Porsche. Always have to just take a breath and say Porsche instead of Aston Martin.
But on the other hand, very characteristic driving style we've seen from Martin Ragginger everywhere he goes. Lots of elbows going on in the cockpit when he's at the wheel, but it doesn't seem to be indicative of panic or even trying really hard. It just seems to be his driving style. Some drivers are normally, they're very, very smooth, but Ragginger, he does in fact rag it.
Yes,
ragged,
he does.
doesn't he?
He does rag it very hard.
Very ragged. And still, Alex Müller hasn't been able to get past the Xavier Masson Corvette. He really needs to. This is a different battle up front. That's Bert Longin still in second place, 3 seconds behind Mike Hazeman, and with Mario Dominguez, our very own Mexican driver, breathing down his neck, which is not what you want from a Mexican just at the moment, is it?
Hasn't he shown well since he came into the championship this year, though, for essentially a single-seat man, but has taken the sports cars very well indeed, and given some strong performances in what is quite an aged car now.
Indeed, but the rules have been adjusted to help the aged cars compete on level terms. Some would say a bit too level.
At the start of the season, yes, they were a little bit busy, weren't they? They had a lot of pace in the car. They were driving past anyone. Here's the start again, and you can see they're already running 3 wide. Alex Müller wondering which way to go for the best. Gets into the middle of the two. Carl Wendlinger tries to turn in and can't, and that in turn pushes out the Xavier Martin Corvette, and coming out worst of the 3 on the face of it was Alex Müller, but it was actually the Corvette that came into the pit lane, Xavier Martin, and there we come up again. Almost no retardation on the Corvette there at all, and I suppose if you have to point a finger, that may be where it ends up being pointed.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. I'm going to reserve my judgment on that one.
Mario Dominguez has made up that place on Bert Longin. Got the Celine ahead. That battle has been going on since the first corner, really. And already we're seeing that Dominguez has made his way past, but Bert Longin is not prepared to give up on it. Bertolini holding a watching brief behind just to see if those two can take each other out and leave the space open for him.
Mike Hazeman, meanwhile, is doing what all racing drivers long to do, and that is clear off. He's unwinding his laps at his own race. Here's the pass from Dominguez on the brakes. Little bit, and he only just skated that through on turn one, and I think Bert Longin wasn't so much overtaken as stayed
just
well out of the way.
Avoiding the accident, wasn't he, I think? Yes,
don't want anything to do with that.
Watching all that going on and kind of expecting the Celine to go straight on and therefore not cost him the place, but eventually Dominguez, with his immense car control, was able to bring the Celine into something like a line going around the corner and managed to make the pass stick. In fact, slightly now pulling away.
K+K will be happy about that. Bert Longin, I'm sure, won't be happy about that, because it really was have an accident or get out of the way, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Mario Dominguez very nearly had the accident all by himself, as Graham says. But now Longin is just glued to the back end. He's no faster, is he? Just tried that wild move and he's not pulling away. Behind is Bertolini in the number 1 Maserati. Alex Muller's now up into 8th place, having found a way past Michael Krum. So he's getting on with it, but we were really looking forward to seeing Muller set free. He's followed the number 1 car around at Silverstone and Adria in the opening stint, and this time he was clear at the front and he knew that he had to get away at the front. I think he got a little bit overpowered on the run towards the first corner, and I'm not entirely sure that when the race steward watch that again, they won't think that he'd been past and came back and thought, hello, it's a late braking party, fair enough, I'll join in. And the reason he got squashed is because he was between them and shouldn't have been.
Shouldn't have been, perhaps. Yep, there is that view. Alex Muller, in the meantime, in the number 2 Maserati, has set the race's fastest lap in his recovery drive. Here are the 2 CRS cars together. Rob Bell ahead of Tim Mullen.
55 is Tim Mullen and 56 is Rob Bell.
Good to see them running well. They've had a catalogue of woes this season, clipping the curb pretty hard there, Tim Mullen, but you've got to be able to ride some of these curves in order to get the lap times down.
Then the other thing you've got to bear in mind, of course, is that a part of this race is about tyre usage, and running up on those very bumpy curves doesn't do them any favours. And in a couple of the races this weekend, we have seen tyres chunking up quite badly, and that's not because, I mean, it's an abrasive surface here anyway, and tyre wear is an issue, but nothing chunks up a tyre quite as much as monstering the curves.
And they've both made their way past the Nismo car, the GTR, running to 2010 GT1 spec, but they're against making his way past. I wonder if Trump perhaps made an error last time round to allow those GT2 cars past. Seems quite concerned seems quite happy behind the wheel there. Got a great shot of the onboard telemetry as well, which is well worth a look next time we go on board with Michael. And there we go.
G-force and then gears, throttle and brake. You can see he's on the brake, off the brake and on the throttle, and watch him going up through the gears. Watch that speed climb up now on this long fast bit of the circuit. Stuck behind the Ferrari though, you can hear him come off that. There was nothing for it except to follow it.
Just had to lift out of it. Team manager of car 13 has been asked to report to the headmaster. That's the Ferdinando Monfardini car that started from pit lane, so incurring somebody's wrath. Back on board with Michael Krum.
A lot of this circuit in 3rd gear, now up to 4th. Here's the long run down the back straight. As we go back to the Alex Muller battle, he is 8th, and the man in front of him is Baz Leinders, and how much longer? Here he goes, just flies through on the brakes. And that was a lovely piece of work from Alex Muller. He is a very entertaining driver to watch. And
that demonstrates, if you needed one as a demonstration, the difference between the current breed of GT1 and the GT1 cars of the future. which will be slightly less pokey, shall we say.
A little bit heavier, a little bit harder to stop and turn. And could you see the way those cars were bouncing off the curbs there? That's what we're talking about. They take a huge battering if you jump the curbs, but everybody seems to think that you have to. Luke Hines is our next target. That's the Saleen in front of us, and you can't help thinking it won't be long, because Muller is ready on the gas as early as he can be, and he wants the run on the Saleen. But look at it pull away. That's V8 American muscle for you, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and turbocharged as well in that car's case. But it's still a fairly uneven battle. We're going to see the place change, I'm sure, before too long.
Well, that was a good moment to try it. We would expect a little bit of overtaking towards the shell curve there. Didn't happen, and I was quite surprised to see the Maserati get up into 6th gear on that back straight. That's how quickly it goes through the revs. It revs much more highly than the Saleen in front of it and the Ford behind it. The V8s give their best power and torque at lower RPM.
Carl Wendlinger is still there.
Oh, look at that, straight up the inside.
No
turn
messing.
1, stitched him up.
Job
It's not
done.
turn 1, is it? Yes, it is.
Yes,
it is.
yeah.
Just for a moment there, I thought we were further around the circuit on the chicane. That was in that very vicious turn 1 left-hander. Alex Muller just punched his way past the Saleen, and that means he is now in 6th place after half an hour of racing. It's taken him over 30 minutes to get back into 6th place, and that just shows how much of a trauma a turn 1 incident can be.
Yeah, unless your clock's running differently from mine, I think it's about 15 minutes.
Oh, you've done the mathematics again.
I'm sorry.
What was I looking at up there then? I'm sure that said 28 just now. No, it says 58. Never mind.
O-level sums.
Never got
back with Ferraris, back with CRS, and hanging on to the tail of the CRS pair of Rob Bell and Tim Mullen is Marco Holzer in the Porsche there, number 61. That's the second of the Pro Speed cars, although at the moment, of course, running ahead of Manuel Collard, who is languishing down behind Bergmeister. Your Bergmeister, having started at the back of the grid, has made his way up to 17th place overall, and is just behind this little group, in fact, I think you'll find. Once Thomas Mutsch and Ferdinando Monfardini clear out of the way, your Bergmeister's next. There is his car in the background, the red and white one. The two cars in between are not in the same class, but are still battling for places. Ferdinando Monfardini is just ahead of Thomas Mutsch on the timing and scoring, and has he made his way past as the GT2 battle further down the field comes through the screen. That's Collard at the front and struggling to stay ahead of Paolo Roberti in the BMS Scuderia Italia car. His teammate is in close attention. I'm through. So this 3-car battle over 2nd place.
And 3 cars, remember, involved in that turn 1 incident were Carl Wendlinger, who is now 4th, Alex Muller, who is now 5th, and where is the Corvette which lost 2 laps in the pits, did it? Being strapped up afterwards, and he's, oh dear, right down the tail end. They did a driver change as well. It's Thomas Biaggi at the wheel, and he's in 20-something place now. 22nd for Thomas Biaggi in the SRT Corvette. That's not really what he would have wanted on his... sorry, SRT is the Luc Alphon Corvette for Thomas Biaggi. First time through in the Luc Alphon team. On board with the race leader at the moment. We haven't seen much of Mike Hazeman, and I'm not going to talk about the car too much because we don't want to curse another one, but his teammates in the pit lane with Haley.
Anthony, Mike's gotten off to a great start, and he was very lucky to avoid that collision on the first corner.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened. I think Wendlinger came in too fast, and then I think the first 3 cars crashed, so we were a bit lucky, but I must say also he did a great job. He chose the right corner, and he already said before, if there's a crash I have to be there, and it's exactly what he did, so he did a great job.
Great. Look forward to seeing you out there. Thank you, Anthony.
Just a glaring illustration there of what we were talking about earlier about driver fitness. Some of the drivers in this championship take fitness very seriously, and as you could clearly see, Anthony Koopman is one of them, probably the fittest driver here, and he's ex-teammate Bert Longin, who is still in second place, is another one, and they had a very, very serious fitness regime. I think Bert Longin even trains his eyesight.
Yes, they all have their own little peculiarities as to what they like to do to try and tweak the performance. A lot of drivers have taken eyesight testing to the limit and look to be able to focus further and further ahead. Bert Longin putting in the quickest of the laps for the 3 cars that are making up this battle on screen now for second place. It is still Longin holding it from Bertolini, with Carl Wendlinger in third. Wendlinger and Bertolini lapping within 1,000th of a second of each other last time round.
7 seconds behind them, and you'll catch glimpses of it occasionally from the trackside cameras, is the number 2 Maserati of Alex Muller. You might just see a glimpse of black and blue at the top of your screen. So all of the people, apart from the Luc Alphon Corvette, who were involved in that turn 1 fracas, seem to have got it all back together again as we head towards the 30-minute marker and some 15 laps in it. Remember, what we're looking for, everybody, is to go as long as possible in this first stint on board with the number 1 Maserati of Bertolini, looking for an hour or so from that full 100-litre fill-up at the start of the race and the set of tyres they qualified on. And there is Alex Muller, and you can see now that he can see the car he's chasing, and that's such a big encouragement to a racing driver. And he'll be able to see the tail end of Wendlinger's Celine, and he'll have something to aim at.
Down in GT2, we should mention that Martin Ragginger has taken the class lead away from Jimmy Bruni, and so he now heads GT2. Thomas Much is Ford GT between the two of them as we look at the timing at the moment. We're on board with Alex Muller chasing down that 3-car battle for second place, because he wants to join in as well. Ideally, he'd like to be battling for the lead, and I'm sure we'll feel that rightfully he should be.
Hazeman leads it by 11 seconds from Bert Longin, and it's 1 second back to Bertolini, and then it is 0.4 of a second back to Carl Wendlinger, and then 7 seconds back to Alex Muller. So Muller coming forward, and this 3-car battle for second place has now become a matter of millimetres, not fractions of a second.
Thomas Biaggi making his way up onto screen 1 of timing and scoring as he fights his way through the GT2 field to get back up to somewhere near his rightful place.
Carl Wendlinger in the red and silver Celine here, jumping across the curves, chasing down that black and blue Maserati of Andrea Bertolini as they rattle off another lap of the unfortunate and perhaps troubled BMS Ferrari. Yeah. And in the background there, yet another of the Celines, and this is Carl Wendlinger, who wants to get on with this and wants to get past it. Drop back. You can see he was almost touching the back end of the Maserati earlier on, but now as they get their way past the Ferrari, he's lost a bit of ground and he's going to have to close up. We're on board with Bertolini, 5th gear, and then 6th. There are only 2 places on the circuit. You see number 6 on the gear shift indicator. Turn 1, 90 degrees, down towards Hotel. Great viewing on the... Oh, that's not going to be fixed in a big hurry, is it?
That's yeah, that's a very interesting. What's happened there? 77.
Yeah.
That's the other BMS car. So whether those two were involved in the same incident, we'll have to wait for a replay to see. But that, I'm afraid, is a retirement for Emmanuel Collard. No drive today for Richard Westbrook, and after 2 victories in the first 2 rounds, down to earth literally with a bump.
Yes, that is a terrible shame. They were doing a rescue job this weekend, just driving for the biggest points haul they could get with 90 kilos on. There's not much consolation in parking it on the grass after half an hour, but if there is any silver lining to that particular cloud, it's the fact that the lead weight will be somewhat reduced next time we see them, and that might make that car just a little bit easier to deal with. Ryan Sharp, the Scottish driver, waiting for his turn in the Celine from 4th place at the moment. Carl Wendlinger, are we about to see a pit stop? I don't think we're in the normal pit stop window, but Ryan Sharp booted and suited and ready to go, wasn't he?
Yep, maybe because we're just starting to get reports of a few spots of rain around the circuit, so that may change strategy slightly if it sets in. The incident between Collard and Ruberti looks as though it may well have been an incident between the two of them. Ruberti was just a scant 2 tenths behind Collard last time they went through.
that's the K plus K garage we're looking at, is it? In our little box on the top of the screen, I couldn't see any recognisable faces there.
This is the three-car battle still there for second place. Bert Longin able to keep the gap to Andrea Bertolini at the moment. The Corvette doing well round here, and there is Richard Westbrook realising that his day is done.
He was obviously ready to go, and he's just done the crash helmet. So you're right, I think, Graham, the rain is making people think about an early stop and a change of tyres and a change of drivers, obviously, at the same time. Blue flags, who are we waving a blue flag for here? Is it GT2 cars getting in the way of this battle?
Yeah, it's going to be the 95 Picom entry of Matthias Russo, and he's been in a battle with Stefan Mucker. There we are in the Aston Martin. The pair of them about to be gobbled up by Bert Longin's Corvette. He'll slide in between the two for this element of the S's, and hopefully dispose of the Aston Martin before the lap is out.
Bert Longin putting that Corvette into a gap between the two that wasn't theoretically big enough for it to fit in, but at speed it works.
And it looks as though Rousseau was trying to get himself onto the back.
Whoa! That's Booker pointing the wrong way.
Yeah, that was likely to be happening, because it looked as though the Picom car there on the right, the red and white Ferrari, was looking to attach himself onto the back of Bertolini and make his way, onto the back of Bert Longin and make his way back through past the Aston Martin. You can see that there. The Aston just spinning on the way into the corner, and did he get a tap from behind from the Ferrari?
Well, we didn't see it well enough to have an opinion, I don't think, from there,
No.
but I think the odds are that was a little bit of a nudge going into the corner, and you bet that Stefan Mucker thought he was going to take his line, and then there was a Ferrari that he wasn't expecting or didn't want.
Alex Muller making up time, his gap back to Carl Wenninger now below 4 seconds, and last time round lapping 2.5 seconds quicker, and the threesome ahead.
Well, Alex Muller has definitely got the red mist, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And as you say, Graham, it was 7 seconds a while ago. It's 4 now. He is definitely in the hunt. Alex Muller wants to hand this car over back where he started it, in the lead, and that's the end for Picom, isn't it? Matthias Russo parking it on the grass, and that's him walking away. I think Stefan Mucker, we saw, continued, and there's still a yellow flag out at turn 1. And that's because of that car on the grass. Back on board with Muller now as he continues his pursuit of Wendlinger. 20 laps into it, 30 minutes more or less.
You can just see the car ahead up in the distance there. Here is our leader, though. Mike Hazelman is the man who's really benefiting from all this activity going on behind him. He's managed to keep the pedal to the metal and stretched his advantage over Bert Longin to nearly 13 seconds. Still got to deal with the traffic, however, and that sort of thing doesn't help him very much. That's your Bergmeister in the GT2 car. They've still got to take a line through the corners, of course, the GT2 cars, and you can't just make your car disappear because someone fast is coming up behind. Bergmeister looked to have taken Tim Mullen on that last corner.
There's half a lap of this circuit, and that was more or less it, where the GT2 cars are just about as fast as the GT1s, and you just have to wait until you get to a bit like this, where you can use your horsepower on the long back straight to go past. It's all about patience. A lot of this race here at Oschersleben will be a waiting game, some of it waiting to get the throttle down in the long corners, and some of it waiting for slower traffic to move aside and give you a bit of room to go by.
Yep, looks as though the Bergmeister Ferrari, the Porsche, is now going to be trying to get up on terms with Rob Bell in the leading car of this foursome on screen now. That's the CRS car number 56, who's still got a yellow flag down at turn 1, so no overtaking opportunities here, whether for lappery or for place gaining. Mike Hazelman will have to be patient. And there are parts of this circuit, Richard, where the GT2 cars are every bit as quick as the GT1 through the tight stuff. Makes his way by now, though, and that leaves the road clear for Jörg Bergmeister to see the back of Andrew Cocodi's Ferrari and to want to attach himself firmly to it and make his way past.
at the moment. Draginger is about 4 seconds clear of Bruni, and there he goes.
Breaking himself there, running very wide into that turn and leaving the door wide open. Somebody with the experience of Bergmeister, been a Porsche factory driver for many a year, would need no second invitation and should now disappear off into the middle distance. So in time he will hand the car over to his co-driver, who sadly is not as quick as him and will be the first to admit. Here's the battle. The biggest problem that the drivers have is that in order to pass slower cars, you're going to have to go off the dry racing line to achieve it. And that's where the danger is at its greatest. Carl Wendlinger trying to get himself down the inside of Rob Bell there, but not able to. Alex Muller dealing with a car that didn't really want to go around the corner very well there, thank you very much. But he in turn now will make his way past the CRS car, just on sheer power down the start-finish straight. Should be no argument there, and that's how much this battle has closed up because of the traffic they've had to negotiate. Second, third, fourth and fifth, we're on board with Alex Muller at the back of this train of 4 cars, but he will be doing his level best to get up to the front of the train before this pit stop.
So they are very close together, and we have done 35 minutes and a bit. They're looking to stop probably in about 20 minutes time, maybe even longer than that if the rain holds off and allows them to stick to that plan. But at the moment I would say that Alex Muller is much quicker than Carl Wendlinger, and Carl Wendlinger is in a lot of trouble if he's not very lucky. Because Alex Muller is very racy. Wendlinger can't get past the Maserati in front of him. Muller's right behind him now. Was 7, then it was 3, then it was 2, and now it is, as you can see, just a fag paper between them. And Andrea Bertolini in the number 1 car we're riding with still cannot get a run on Bert Longin in the SRT Corvette, despite all the traffic, and that's Bergmeister being passed there, and he wants to go with him and can't. Bert Longin, as you say, placing the car very nicely and always trying to give himself a little bit of a buffer and a bit of a breathing space. But here on the straight, I'm sure you'll see the power. No, Bergmeister doesn't want to have anything to do with that, does he?
No, well, he's in hot pursuit of Jimmy Bruni, having made his way up to 3rd in class from his back of the grid start. Jörg Bergmeister is now only 3 seconds behind Jimmy Bruni, and if he can improve that position further before he hands over to David Ashburn for the middle stint, then he will be a happy man indeed. Giving way there though to Alex Muller in turn 1.
As Bertolini went past Bergmeister, he gave him a little derisory wave, I think an ironic wave, like thanks a lot, pal. And I think he gave this next pair a lot more room on the run into turn 1, and Alex Muller is now, according to the timing screen, 0.4 of a second behind Carl Wendlinger, who won't need to be told, of course. So headlights on as they continue to thread their way through the GT2 field, and Bert Longin using the traffic to the best advantage he can. But it's just depends on how you come up on slower cars as to whether it's good or bad for you.
Now, whether it's traffic or whether it's other factors, I know not, but Mike Hazelman's lead has been halved since we last looked at it at some nearly 12 seconds. It's now down to 5.7.
May just be the conditions. He may well find that he's making his way through the traffic first, and the other cars will only know the leaders are lapping them after Mike Hazelman has come through, and very often the leading car has a bit more of a problem with slower traffic. It may well be that the Corvette's dancing about a bit, as they all are, and through goes Bertolini
on the Nissan GTR, which pulls out a way to allow all 3 cars to pass by, and may well even allow Jimmy Bruni past. But see how quickly Jörg Bergmeister has got up onto the back of Jimmy Bruni. The lot of work of Carl Wendlinger makes it down the inside. He's made his way past after laps and laps and laps of following Andrea Bertolini's number 1 Maserati. He's made his way through now. Will Bertolini in the heavier car allow his teammate Muller past in pursuit of the Celine?
Yes.
Yes, he will. Simple answer.
Absolutely.
May not have had much option. Alex Muller. Looks as though that's Wendlinger.
Yes,
He's gone straight on, and in his exuberance trying to get the car as quickly as he can back onto the track, he's kept the engine running, but has looped it through 360. He's going to do another 360. Ryan Sharp is not going to give him high marks on that. He's finally settled the car down. You see, wet grass is not really good on coefficient of grip.
Carl Wendlinger just overdid it. As you say, he was so pleased to get past, and he cleared off the got 2 or 3 car lengths up the road before he arrived at that corner. Just went in too hot, paid the price, off he went. He'll be in pit lane if he can bring it back. And that has really played very much into the hands of these boys. Mike Hazeman and Bert Longin first and second, and now it's Bertolini who's been passed by Muller, and they are third and fourth. So this is looking very good for not only a home win, but also for a championship lead increase for the Vitafone crew. If they can take a big lead to Spa, they're going to be jolly happy indeed.
Yeah, and delighted they will be to have this sort of activity and result in their home race. Vitafone, of course, a German-based operation, and Alex Muller finally getting what he wanted, which is a bit of clear track to go and attack Bert Longin. Bert Longin in turn has reduced the gap between himself and Mike Hazeman to less than 4 seconds last time round, and you wonder whether Mike's starting to struggle on the tyres, although his last lap time was improved. Looks like that windscreen is dry again, although the wiper is still flitting across it.
A couple of specks of rain on the window of the commentary box, but they've been there more or less since we came on air, so that really doesn't help us as a guide. Here's the race leader, someone we haven't seen for a long time, looking, as you say, Graham, very well.
Still rain falling there.
Just listening, that sounds perfect as well, doesn't it? There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with that. And Mike Hazeman looking strong, but as you say, that's second place behind him. There's Bert Longin in the SRT car, and here comes third place. This is Alex Muller, just whistling past the GT2 cars and really tracking down after Longin and then Hazeman.
Yeah, putting a lap on Martin Ragginger, who's the GT2 leader in that white Porsche with the red bar on the nose. Second place in GT2 has now gone to Jörg Bergmeister, who's made his way past Jimmy Bruni. But back on board with the Maserati number 1. This is the car we were looking through the windshield of just a moment ago, and he in turn will make his way up onto the back of Martin Ragginger's Brixia Porsche. And he would have liked, I think, to have gone through there if he possibly could, but Porsche carrying enough advantage at the start of the straight to still have one at the end of the straight, so Bertolini will have to be relatively patient now, maybe have a run into Hasseröder up the inside, but it's a bit of a gap there.
Oh, Ragginger's got it all wrong in the middle of the corner, and he nearly tripped over him. That's just so dangerous, isn't it? That if somebody else has a moment, you can become part of it. It almost took out the Maserati there, and look at Alex Muller. Oh, what's it
That's
like?
what we like to see. Well done, Alex. Brilliant stuff. This is on board the Porsche that we've just seen pass by Bertolini. I think Martin realised that he'd made that mistake in Hasseröder and waved Bertolini through in the end.
Well, rain getting heavier in some places out there. There is definite water clearance going on. The umbrellas are all up among the spectators. We have a black cloud that's parked above the Oschersleben circuit all around us. In fact, the sky is lighter now, and the rain just appears to be moving through, but very slowly. That's Bertolini with the wiper going full chat at the moment in fourth place. Ahead of him by some 2.5–3 seconds is Alex Muller. Hazeman has now just got less than 2 seconds of a lead over second place Bert Longin. And Muller is right behind him, but he's stuck behind traffic. Now we're going to see some fireworks, because Alex Muller definitely has got it across him this afternoon after that turn 1 incident that sent him right down into the 20s. And Hazeman's, there's Longin, there is the 51 AF Corsa car in front of Alex Muller, but of course he's just due for lappery at the moment. He'll just be passed in a moment. But Alex Muller, of course, needs to get it done as quickly as possible, but he doesn't want to trip over him. There it goes.
Nice clean pass in the end.
In front is now the black and white Corvette in second place. Bert Longin, your days in second place, I can't help thinking, are numbered, because Alex Muller is the thing at the moment on this circuit, and he is running in the 30s, and almost no one is, except Carl Vending is the only other person back on track in fifth place and running in 130s. How about that?
Somewhere down the road we've lost Jörg Bergmeister from the GT2 battle. He's tumbling down the order. Haven't seen... There he is. There we are. Haven't seen the yellow flag around the circuit, but he's got off into the gravel. We didn't see that happen. Don't know if he went out on his own or whether he had assistance from outside. Alex Muller as the other approach to the pit lane entrance.
Well, he managed to pick that up and get away with it. And I think that was more luck than anything else. But if I was him, I'd be needing a pit stop of some kind now.
Yep, I think so. Here's Mike Hazeman's going through turn 1, followed by Bert Longin, followed by Alex Muller. The two of them able to match times in spite of that moment from Alex Muller, and Mike Hazeman's just pulling out a fraction of a second that time round, almost back up to 3 seconds his lead, but it's not going to be enough if Alex Muller carries on the way he's been going.
Well, he's got to have another think about it now, Alex Muller, or at least he ought to, but he doesn't. Look at him, he hasn't backed off even slightly. He collected it up, did the rallying thing, and his best Sebastian Loeb impression. Michael Bartels has got his helmet on, but he always gets ready early for his stint in the #1 car, so that doesn't necessarily mean that the pit stop is imminent. I would guess we've got another 14 minutes and 41 seconds before they think about really coming in, unless it rains. But Muller now has got Longin in his sights, hasn't he? This is it.
Yeah, this is going to happen. This is going to happen any time soon, isn't it? Maybe into turn 1 if he's feeling really brave. They're coming through the Shell and Mebo S's up towards the right-hander at the top of the hill there. Small climb up towards past the past the pit lane exit entrance, and then on to start-finish.
On the gas now, Alex Muller wants it going into turn 1. There are no yellow flags there anymore. But look at that Corvette. Bert Longin using the power, placing it in the middle of the track. He's got everything, but Muller's going for the inside anyway. He's late on the brakes and he didn't quite get it there. That was touch and go though from a long way back. That Maserati was very light on the brakes, and Muller now very early on the throttle, snatching at the steering wheel as the back end tries to get away from him. Bert Longin breathe again, but there's another big straight coming up. And when they get round to the back of the circuit, he's going to try that. And I think that's Bergmeister's gravel they've all got to deal with there.
Yes, looks like your Bergmeister's been towed back on and dragged a load of gravel with him. That'll make life interesting. And Muller, again, looking very racy through these corners. Bert Longin a little more cautious, but he can't afford to be, because Muller will gobble him up.
And he's going to do it now. I'm sure that he thinks now is his chance.
Front end of the Corvette just getting away there, slewing wide.
Back straight then. Can it be here? Oh, look at this. On the curbs, on the gas, underneath the rear wing. And again, the Corvette uses that power and eases away. Will he make a dive for the inside going into the shell turn? No, he's not close enough. But are they towing up to Mike Hazeman? No, they're not. Everyone's pretty much stable at the moment. So this battle continues for second place, and we've got, for the first time, I think, significant rain on the lens of a camera around the circuit. Seen sprinkles of it on the windscreens. What about this time, Graham? Is he close enough? No.
Well, it was when he came onto the straight, but again, look at that V8 Corvette power just easing away. The slightly larger restrictor they've been given on the Corvette this time, allowing the power to be put down on the road better than ever before. And Alex Muller's doing everything he can, everything he knows to get that Maserati on terms with Bert Longin. But as soon as he gets up to the back of him, then that's the end of it.
You can see that the Maserati comes deeper into the corners, it's lighter, it stops later, and it stops faster, and Alex Muller can use that. But as soon as they get onto the straight where he needs to draw alongside so he can outbrake him into the corner, that big V8 Corvette just tramps away up the road. Bert Longin starting to fight it, I think. Bert Longin is doing as much work in the cockpit of that car as Alex Muller is doing in this one. Look at the back end of it starting to move around. Longin on the ragged edge, and maybe his tyres have seen their best day. Maybe the rain is starting to have a bigger effect on the Corvette. Alex Muller can feel this overtaking manoeuvre coming on, and again the Corvette twitches. Can Muller get the power down harder and going into the S's? I don't think he's close enough this time, and he's going to have to follow him around. He had a look. Bert Longin all over the place. Through he goes. Longin in the gravel. Alex Muller into second place. Longin will rejoin the circuit. He lives again, but he lost it just critically under brakes. Through and Alex Muller. Bert Longin gathers himself up together and carries on. But Alex Muller now second. Here it is. Longin just tried to brake too late, and the back end breaks away.
I've just been noticing through the last couple of laps, Richard, that Longin had been getting earlier and earlier onto the brakes to get the Corvette slowed down for the corners. There he stabbed on the brakes much too late and really could not make it happen. Here's Andrea Bertolini having a little moment as well.
Rain is definitely beginning to affect what's happening on the racetrack. I think we can draw that conclusion. We've seen 3 or 4 cars in the gravel. Fendlinger, Bergmeister, Bert Longin, now Bertolini as well. This is second place. This is Alex Müller all over the shop.
Isn't it? This is getting heavier. This.
And he'll be handing that car over to Miguel Ramos, and the rain has made them bring forward their pit stop, and that the advantage that the Maserati has of being able to use its tyres and its fuels for a little bit longer than everybody else, eroded by the rain. That will have upset their game plan just about as much as being knocked off in turn 1 probably did.
Yes, absolutely. It's there's the stop finally. It's gone to the wrong garage, and that's very un-Alex Müller. He's the Maserati are normally really up to speed on their pit stops, but that was an elementary mistake, pulling into the wrong pit there side by side. The tyres were laid out for both cars, and unfortunately he didn't look ahead to the pit board with the number 2 on, which would have indicated his stopping point. Saw a set of tyres pulled up next to them, and then had to be pushed forwards to his own stand. We're on board meanwhile with Anthony Kumpen, who's taken over the PK Racing car from Mike Hazemans, and we'll be discovering just how slippery it is out there. But at least now they're all going to be going on to the right tyres. Miguel Ramos leaving in the number 2 car. We're on board with him. His first wet run,
and he's
here
going
at
to join in
Oschersleben this
second
weekend.
place. Look, there is on the left of your picture is the number 4 Corvette.
Yep.
Going into turn 1. Anthony Kumpen is back in the lead, and that little bit of a fluff going into the pit stop has cost Alex Müller and Miguel Ramos, as it now is, about 3 or 4 seconds, and that has dropped them out of that close battle for the lead. And Miguel Ramos is going to have to do it all again. If you're watching the live timing at home on mstworld.com, you can see Ramos' name at the top of the leaderboard, but when they come around at the end of this lap, that will correct itself.
That's GT2 leader Jimmy Bruni in to hand over to Tony Wieland, and we know just how good he can be in the wet.
Yes, that could be interesting, couldn't it? Wielander, for those of you who don't remember, we saw in a Maserati in a monsoon at Mugello a couple of years ago, and drove out of his skin, didn't he?
Yep, absolutely. It was wet feet weather there at Mugello that weekend, and in the Platin Sara free Maserati, Tony Wielander made everybody else on the track look rank amateur.
Yes.
There's Luke Hines bringing in the number 11 Celine. This is one of the full speed racing cars, Graham Nash's team. He will hand over to Stéphane Lemeray, the Belgian driver.
Fuel first, nobody else can touch the car except the incoming and outgoing drivers. You can watch the screen, but what's the point when the wiper will do it for you in a minute? It would probably happen in drier weather, it won't happen now. But as soon as that fuel hose comes off, and it's going in at about just less than 3 litres a second, it's not pumped like it is in Formula 1 where they squirt it in at about 12 litres a second. It just dribbles down the hose, and you just have to stand there and not touch the car until it's done. Conditions are very wet indeed, as you just saw looking through the windscreen of Anthony Kumpen's Corvette.
And the big difference now, Richard, is that with everybody on full wet tyres, the amount of spray that's going to be thrown up is going to multiply hugely, because the slick tyres don't throw up the spray in anything like the same way that the wets do. The groove tyres are designed to throw water out of the side and put more rubber back on the road. The visibility, therefore, behind other cars is going to be mighty difficult, and not helped when the Celine up ahead has apparently got glowworms for lights.
Yes, it does seem a bit dim. The rules say that you must have working lights, and that does have working lights, but they're only just working, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure the one on the left was working at all, but we shall see.
If that is the case, if it is not working, they will get called in for it and be told to fix it. And it's not working at all, is it? Just a glimpse of it there from this side. That wasn't on even slightly. Anthony Kumpen taking it very steadily. The last lap, 1:44, and remember they were lapping in the low 30s earlier on.
Yeah, and that fluff in the pit stop really has cost them dear. 15 seconds or so the gap back to Miguel Ramos. James Ruffier has taken over the number 3 car from Bert Longin in the 3rd place. So it's Corvette first and third, sandwiching the Maserati, then Bertolini shown still in the car, but we've seen that he's already done his pit stop. James Ruffier there. Miguel Ramos has run very wide. exactly the same spot that we saw Muller do it, but Ramos doesn't have the excuse of being on the wrong tyres. There is James Rouffier making best of that situation and making his way up into second place. Miguel Ramos will have to calm things down a bit, regather his thoughts, and then try and make his way back past the Corvette.
He just ran rather wider than he was planning to in that corner. He's lost the place, and James Rouffier went swooping through. And he was closing in anyway, Rouffier. He looked to be the faster of the two in these conditions, although he hasn't really pulled away. But, of course, Miguel Ramos took a shorter line across that corner than did James Rouffier. But everybody's having to think about this. We've had dry, sunny weather, and we've had a lot of rubber and oil down. Now it's rained. It's very, very slippery indeed. Watch now as Miguel Ramos and almost didn't see the corner. It's almost as if he just turned at the last possible moment and it wasn't going to happen. And I think he just went in there. Oh no, he'd got it turned and it just wasn't going anywhere, was it? In
fact, understeered off.
Yeah. So he got the wheels turned, and then only when it slowed down did they actually bite and try and turn the car at all. So he was trying to get round the corner. It just aquaplaned on a little bit. Front end pushed him wide into the corner and cost him a place. But he can still stay in touch with James Rouffier, who is dancing the Corvette around on the circuit as well. The back end of that floating away from him. These tyres are so wide, they do encourage aquaplaning. Although they're wet tyres, although they've got grooves in them to clear the water, they are so wide and the cars are so light that if there's any substantial amount of water on the track, they will float away. They'll just drive a wedge of water under the leading edge of the tyre. It will sit up on the water, and then the back end will just float off into the distance.
Yep, and he has the added problem now, of course, of driving into a wall of spray being thrown up by Rouffier's Corvette and trying to judge where the car might be in the midst of all that. It's like being in fog.
You know what it's like when you're on a motorway and you try to pass lorries in the middle lane, and you have to drive through a huge cloud of spray, and you just have to bite the bullet and go through the gap and keep the steering wheel straight. That's exactly what is happening here to Miguel Ramos. He is following the equivalent in water clearance of an 18-wheeler, and that's what's being dumped on his windscreen as we go down the straight, looking for the braking point in the murk. You've really got to think about these, everything. You've got to think about all these braking points and these turning points. Pick them in the rain. It's much more difficult, and it's much more important to get them right. You can improvise a bit in the dry. You can fiddle with the car on the throttle and the steering wheel, but in the rain, you've got to get it absolutely perfect. Absolutely, the light touch is the one that works.
And 20 seconds or so a lap is the difference between a quick lap in the wet and a quick lap in the dry. We're looking at 1:48 as the best Andrea Bertolini. In fact, Ryan Sharp put in a 1:45 last time round. That's going some. And we've had trouble with wet conditions for the first time this weekend. Drivers having to try and adjust to it. But we're on board with Miguel Ramos. We saw his partner Alex Muller earlier. Here he is with Haley.
Alex, what a dramatic first stint. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, well, my first stint was good, but at the start I was just in the middle, and I'm not David Copperfield, a magic man, and just disappeared, yeah. So Marcin was a little bit pressing inside, and then Carl was on the left, on the right, and I don't know where to go, so we judged all three.
It certainly was a great recovery there. You must be happy with your performance.
The performance is very good, and yeah, we demonstrated that the car was quick, so it should be easier for us without this start accident.
Great. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Alex Muller doesn't look happy, which is a shame, because as Haley said, what we've just seen from him is a recovery drive to remember, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's great to watch, both on board and from the trackside cameras, and we had the advantage of both. And here we are with Ramos just tightening his belts, and he is hooking sixth gear in the Maserati still, in spite of the conditions being so atrocious. Last time through, watching Andrea Bertolini, he was holding the car in fifth down that straight. So Ramos treating the conditions slightly differently.
Kumpen, Rouffier, Ramos, Bartels is the top four at the moment. Ryan Sharp is 11 seconds down on Michael Bartels in fifth place.
And it's a Ferrari.
K plus K, Carl Vendinger showing a bit of strain there in the background. He had a busy turn one on lap one, and he had a busy excursion of his own, and a great save and somebody who didn't make a save, though, somebody who went off, one of the early casualties of the sprinkling of the rain, was Jörg Bergmeister, who had been brilliant in recovery from the back end of the grid after being sent there from pole position, and was right up to the front, and then he was the first sign that things had gone wrong and that the rain was beginning to get heavy, and he's been in pit lane with Haley. There he is now.
You're battling your way from the back of the grid. You almost made it to second place, but then unfortunately it's early retirement. What happened with the car?
It wasn't retirement. I just made a little mistake. I pushed pretty hard, and track was a little damp already. Going in turn 3, locked up the rear a tiny bit, spun and was in the gravel, and it took unfortunately quite a while till they got me out of there. So now we're in the back again.
Well, I hope you're still happy that you didn't go to your holiday and you did come to the track.
Yeah, it was a fun weekend so far. I'm going to get back in the car now in the rain and see what we can do.
Thank you, Jörg.
Thank you.
So Jörg Bergmeister putting his hand up for it. Wasn't the rain at all.
No, just having a bit of a moment on his own. There is the car we're talking about, David Ashburn, car's owner, now at the wheel. And if he can keep it pointed in the right direction to hand back to Jörg at the end of his stint, then we'll see whether the factory Porsche driver Bergmeister can make good, or atone at least, for his error in that first stint. Here's Ryan Sharp still trying to make up time on Bartels, and doing so at the tune of about a couple of seconds a lap at the moment, with the gap at over 7 seconds. Another 3 laps and they could well be on terms if Ryan Sharp is able to maintain his pace relative to that of Bartels ahead.
Michael Bartels and Andrea Bertolini lead the GT1 Championship, arriving here. Anything on the podium would do for them, although Michael Bartels dearly wants to win his home race, and Michael Bartels knows perhaps better than anybody that patience and not just a virtue, patience and a little bit of caution can win races for you when conditions are like this, and it's sometimes better to take it slowly and finish the race than it is to try and win it by going all out. Ryan Sharp and Carl Vendinger do not have that option. They didn't finish in Adria. It's an 8-race season. They need the points here really, really badly, and they really have got to push, because they've got to try and get on the top step of the podium. They certainly need to be on the podium, and at the moment 5th place isn't the answer.
No, it isn't, but it is the answer for the pairing that we were looking to step up to the mark, which is Anthony Kumpen and Mike Hazemans, and Anthony Kumpen currently enjoying nearly half a minute's lead over James Ruffier in the SRT Corvette.
I'll tell you what, that's not bad, because when he came out on track he was some 15 seconds clear, and that has doubled while he's been driving in the last some 15 minutes or so, and that's a strong and I'm sure a very pleasing performance for Anthony Kumpen when he looks at the lap times over the course of the next few days, as all drivers do. He's going to be very pleased with what he's done in these opening minutes of his middle stint.
Yep, some of that may have been the anomaly that sometimes kicks in over the pit stop period, where cars come in and out of pit stops and cross the timing beam at different points. But even so, as you say, James Ruffier not able to do anything to eat into that advantage at Kumpen's over the last few laps. We're on board with Michael Bartels, who's trying to get his way past Miguel Ramos, who in turn is trying to make his way past the back marker. The team look on with a little bit of anxiety, I should think, in these conditions.
I don't think there's going to be any dispute about it. I don't think Miguel Ramos is going to try and fight off his team leader, and with handfuls of opposite lock all round the circuit, Michael Bartels has bundled his way past with absolutely no trouble. Look at it, see the car snatching every time he touches the throttle. Michael Bartels having to grab at the wheel all the time, and you know, because we've seen it, that he's trying to treat this car as gently as you can, and that is the way to do it. Nurse it through, be gentle with it, and the lap times will be quicker. Backwards goes the 51AF Corsa car, and that is not good for them, because that was Alvaro Barber Lopez, according to the timing screen, and that was the car that was so strong in Adria. That was the car that was second in the GT2 Championship.
Yes, looked as though they'd taken an early second stop. So there are two pit stops marked against the car already. So we've got Sean Edwards, meantime, coming up in the second of the Pro Speed cars. There it is, coming up on the back of Martin Rackinger's teammate Luigi Lucchini who doesn't have quite the speed in the car that Ragginger has, and this a great chance for the young guns, Michael Holzer and Sean Edwards, who it is on board now, to lead the GT2, sorry, not to lead the GT2 category, because Tony Vielander still holds that lead. This is for second place, third place in class. Chris Niarchos currently still in second.
Sean Edwards and Mark Holzer coming into the championship to try and run shotgun for Collard and Westbrook and fend off the Ferraris. With Collard and Westbrook now out of the running, it's still their job to deny points to their championship rivals.
Big moment for the Aston Martin under braking there into turn one as the Michael Bartel's Maserati flashes his lights to all and sundry, let him know that he's approaching. Makes no difference to the Ferrari, who's going to take his line anyway. There is Ryan Sharp. Ryan Sharp now just a second behind Ramos in the second of the Maseratis, and still the quickest man out on the track in these conditions.
There's been a message on the bottom of our screen regarding 13 and 78, 13 being the Full Speed Racing Celine, which is now Ferdinando Monfordini at the wheel, I believe.
Started the car.
Did he? Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay, it must be Johnny Molam. And the other one, of course, is the Ferrari, which we saw without lights, and they are now, team manager, come to the office, please, because they're out there without lights, and in these conditions, that's obviously not an option. So it looks as though they are going to be asked to come in and turn their lights on or fix them. And through goes Miguel Ramos, past the Ferrari, very nicely staying out of the way. Michael Bartels, you saw in turn one, wanted to get past, but decided not to, as Ryan Sharp skates the Celine. Oh, off goes the SRT car. No, James Ruffier. Oh dear. That's
just about everybody avoided everybody. This is the car that is running without lights, so if it would spin a bit further off the track, others might be able to avoid it better. The number 78 car, Diego Romanini, at the wheel. BMS Scuderia Italia falling foul of the stewards if they don't get lights on that car. In the meantime, James Ruffier has fallen foul of the wet conditions and had that spin. This is the battle, though, for what was fourth position. There remains to be seen. No, there is Ruffier back. So this is now the battle for third, with Ryan Sharp looking to overtake Miguel Ramos as soon as he possibly can and get off. Yeah, and get off in pursuit of Michael Bartels, who's already crossed the line to start his 46th lap.
And didn't happen this time. This is Bartels turning into turn one. Ramos with Ryan Sharp skating the Celine up the inside. Oh, they almost touched. They have touched, haven't they not? Or is that no?
I think they might have got away with that one, but more because Sharp backed away at the last minute than because Ramos gave him space.
Michael Bartels in turn one very wisely didn't contest it with the GT2 Ferrari. He went for the inside and knew that he wasn't going to get through. Yeah. Ryan Sharp was much more tempted, but managed to get out of it just in time.
Yes. Yeah, never easy to make those last-minute decisions in these conditions where the car almost needs advance warning of what you want it to do, please.
Yes, just to drop a note in the post and I'll think about it at the next corner.
Oil flags out at turns 8 and 9. That's where we saw the SRT Corvette have its moment. James Ruffier, as a result of that, has tumbled down to 5th place from 2nd.
I wonder if he just came across that Ferrari without lights in the Merc there, and that's what caused him to trip up.
Possibly. Here's the battle, however, that's still right Sharp just getting onto too much deep water there and losing pretty much any forward movement. The car pitching sideways through the apex of the corner.
Carl Wendling watching very thoughtfully, but he's been there, as we saw earlier on. Carl Wendling has had all these moments of his own, and he knows what it's like out there at the moment, and he can't do anything. He's as nervous as we are, as Ryan Sharp comes right up on the back end of it now, trying to box him in behind the... Yes, he's done it. He's doing it side by side. They are door handle. The door handle. They're on the gravel. Sharp's through. And that was very brave stuff indeed from Ryan Sharp. And now goes straight past the Porsche and leaving Miguel Ramos thinking, what was all that?
I think Ramos just didn't quite want to admit that Sharp was right alongside him, which he was. Turned into the corner, ended up bouncing off the Celine, which is made of something called unobtainium, which is rock hard and yet weighs nothing, and it was Ramos who came off the worst of that. Ryan Sharp was not going to give an inch.
Well, he was clearly the quicker of the two, and he decided that now was the time, and as you say, Graham, come what may, he was going through there, wasn't he?
Yep, and he'll now be off in pursuit of Michael Bartels. So we're on board with Ramos, watching the back of Ryan Sharp's car disappear. Here's Sharp fully down the inside. Ramos turns into him, and for the moment it looks as though Ryan Sharp was going to come off the worst, but he manages to keep the car somehow in a straight line, gently nursing the number 2 Maserati off onto the grass on the outside, and then straightening up his car to make the pass on the Brixia Porsche ahead.
Ramos didn't do too badly to keep that all together,
he did very well. In fairness, he did very well to keep it all together. But he's lost the place, and he's down in 4th. Ryan Sharp, as we say, now off in pursuit of Michael Bartels, but that little excursion and activity cost both he and Ramos time on that last lap against Kuhnken and Bartels, who are running in relatively clean air.
Somewhere in that little murky cloud up ahead is the Celine of Ryan Sharp. Look how much space he has just made up in a lap now, closing up under brakes. Again, you see how light this Maserati is and how well it stops and turns. But Ryan Sharp, dear oh dear, a little spin for the 56 CRS Ferrari. And is it still going? Yes, he's spitting gravel, but he's still going. If he can keep the momentum, it will dig itself out. But what he doesn't want is for it to slow down and stop as if he's stuck. But if you give it too much, well, it just pirouettes on the spot. And we're trying to have a look at that again and see what happened. But I think he just lifted it over the curb, and it's floating, isn't it? Just on top of the water, and away it goes. Yeah. There is a river crossing the track there, and that whole Ferrari was on top of it. Floated across the track.
Yes, at that point you are just merely a passenger. There is no way back from that. But thankfully, kept the engine going, kept the wheels turning. Marcus Lettinen will nod and say, oh, well, I suppose that's not too bad. He's still pointing the right way, got it back on the black dirt. And somewhat chastened Andrew Kukordi will come around to complete another lap. Any thoughts that Ramos might have had of stealthing back up onto the back of the Celine in Ryan Sharp's hands has come to naught. He does make his way past under the bridge at start-finish. But Ryan Sharp, having made that pass, hasn't really been able to pull away as much from Ramos as I anticipated that he might. And Bartels currently the fastest man on track.
I would say, in fact, the reverse has happened, Graham, and I think that Ryan Sharp is now being caught by Miguel Ramos, or is falling back. Ramos isn't getting quicker, but Ryan Sharp might be getting a little bit slower. We're talking about laps now in the 50s, and Ryan Sharp's last lap was 1:54, so whether he had traffic or a little bit of a thought-provoking moment with himself.
You suspect it was one or the other, don't you?
The way he was going.
In these conditions, even harder when you get caught up behind a slower car, because you've got to guess where it's going to go and how much track there is left to that ball of spray that you're staring at.
You can see it on screen now for yourself. Miguel Ramos a couple of seconds quicker on the last lap than was Ryan Sharp, and when they get to the start-finish line at the end of this lap, we'll see if it was just a moment for Ryan Sharp, or whether in fact he has slowed down on a more permanent basis. Miguel Ramos, of course, was in the car only for a short time when he was jumped on by Ryan Sharp. He may well have now got himself into the groove. You do have to get yourself very much into the rhythm and the routine of driving in these conditions, with what seems like an impossible nightmare on your first lap out of the pits. After about 5 laps, you know what's going on and what you can do and what you can't. It gets a little bit easier, but it still requires all of your attention and every little bit of skill you can find in your race suit.
Yeah, the concentration levels to drive in these conditions are enormous, and it will be very, very tiring. Here's the Nissan Nismo Motorsports GTR, and a very squirrely CRS Ferrari up ahead.
Darren Turner had a little bit of sideways there as well, and you can see that everything's a lot softer now in the rain. We're not giving this as hard a drive, and in fact physically it's a little bit easier because the car is going a little bit more slowly, so there's not the braking, accelerating and turning forces that you get on a dry track, but the mental stress must be doubled.
Massive, absolutely massive. Just watching him drive as careful as he can through behind the Ferrari, not taking any chances whatever. We've still got second stops for nearly all of these cars to come.
And what they've all done, of course, is work out how long it takes to change the driver in the car, and then how much fuel they can put in while the driver is changing, and then how many laps that will buy them at roughly 2 kilometres a litre. If you're just 5 miles to the gallon in real money, they work out how many laps they can buy with a driver change's worth of fuel, and then that's when they want to do their last pit stop. It's different in the rain, of course, and they may not have that data here. Some of them may not have anything to refer to, and of course they haven't had any wet running here, but those are the sums they're all doing, and so the last stops will be dictated by how much fuel they can put in this car during a driver change.
Great onboard shots from inside the Nissan there as we're looking at the other 2010 GT1 car, Mark Henrique, this time in the number 44 car. This was again one that started from pit lane, having had a problem in the engine department during qualifying and not making it out. Thomas Much started the car. Mark Henrique has taken over the seat that Thomas Biaggi vacated to go and join Luc Alphand.
Oh dear, off goes the 51 Ferrari. That is the end of the game for them, I think. Alvaro Barber Lopez, his second excursion of the day, and it looks like it could have been a permanent one. I was just watching that Ford GT and looking at the rain, and the conditions are dreadful. That's exactly what happened to Andrew Golding. It just floats away, and I think that is game over, isn't it?
Well, it's only taken the end plate off the wing. If he can start the engine up and back it out again, he may well have some more running in this race. Meanwhile, we're on board with the Ford GT, the Matec team of Thomas Much and Mark Henrique.
Look at the rain now on the circuit, and look at the amount of water these tyres are trying to clear, and you can see what the problem is for everybody. The water they do clear being chucked up in the face of the man behind. Visibility not good, and you can see on the screen the Ford as well. You've got another problem developing now, and that's condensation. That might have been the conversation Andrew Cordy was having with his pit crew when he came in. Not just the windscreen wipers that need to work, you need the air on the screen or it mists up, and it looks a bit like our camera lens did there, and that doubles your problems in terms of visibility. Anthony Company's doubled his, no, he hasn't quite doubled his lead, but he's away from Michael Bartels again, 17 seconds anymore.
It's been falling. No, it's been that gap has been coming down. Michael Bartels has been consistently lapping quicker than Company. It was 25 seconds. Last time through it was down to 17, and we come through next time, I think it'll probably see it down to 15 point something as the gap between the two. Bartels has been the quickest man on track. There it is, 15.9. Ryan Sharp was matching Bartels pretty much second for second on the last time through, but there's quite a gap between those two now. Michael Bartels is the man on the move. Ryan Sharp does make up a little bit of the gap between himself and Michael Bartels, but only a couple of tenths of a second, still 12.5 between second and third. But Anthony Kumpen needs to keep pressing on, because Michael Bartels is very keen for a home win for his team on the Oschersleben track here.
34 minutes on our countdown timer, which means pit stops will be imminent, again depending on fuel usage, and we'd expect the Maseratis in dry race conditions to be able to stop later and fuel less, and the Corvettes to be a little bit heavier on the fuel. So I think Anthony Kumpen will be handing over to Mike Hazeman rather sooner than Michael Bartels hands that car back to Andrea Bertolini. But these are the things that the teams don't talk about when you go and see them in the paddock over the weekend, so we have to find out for ourselves when it unfolds in front of our eyes.
Just looking through the front of the Corvette as he came through shot, the external camera picked up the fact that 51 car is still stranded in the tyres there on the side of the road. Here's Ryan Sharp still trying to make progress up onto the back of Bartels, but finding it harder. His teammate Carl Wendlinger has been watching events and is with him.
Oh, Ryan's a fantastic battle out there with the Maseratis. They certainly are thirsty for a home win today.
Oh, we have still quite a gap to the leading car, because there was a crash at the start of the race. Then I was off the circuit also once. Ryan did a very great stint here in the race. I heard that his view is not anymore. There's some the foggy windscreen, so I think this is battling a little bit with that for the moment, that he can't see very much anymore.
These weather conditions are certainly worsening as well. Do you think that is the biggest challenge for everybody out there?
For sure, because now it's a lot of water, and for sure also aquaplaning, like I can see on the television.
I wish you luck. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Carl Wendlinger seeing the same as us, watching the cars floating away from the drivers, and as you heard from him there, a little bit broken up, but visibility is an issue in this car. Ryan Sharp is having condensation problems inside the car. Is the wiper working? I can't see a windscreen wiper. That would affect things badly, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'll slow you down a smidge, wouldn't it?
Yes, so that'll be his problem then. It's the windscreen wiper as well, so he may have a little electrical fault then. He might have problems with both of those things, but visibility bad enough with windscreen wipers now must be awful for him, and that'll account for the fact that he's dropped off the pace a little bit. 54s instead of the 52s that Michael Bartels was putting in, and Anthony Kumpkin too on 54 last time out.
Yep, and Michael Bartels again eating into that gap, reducing it to 14 seconds last time through, and looking very good with Andrea Bertolini to take the car back over at some point between now and the 2-hour mark.
31.5 minutes remaining, and we're betting on an early, well, I was betting on an earlier pit stop for the Corvettes and perhaps the Celine than the Maseratis, but you might now see Ryan Sharp come in and they're trying to do something about the wiper as quickly as they can. He's got to do 35 minutes in the car, and I think he's sort of more or less there now, isn't he? So it was just before the hour that they changed, and we are just coming up to the half hour, so that 35 minutes. Encut, they've got the pit board out for the number 2 Maserati, and let's hope that Miguel Ramos will stop in the right place this time.
Yep, and Alex Miller already standing by as we're on board with Miguel Ramos, bringing the car into this fairly narrow pit lane. It really tightens up on you as you turn in there, and not a lot of room to get these wide cars down through there. There's the 97 car. That's Luigi Lucchini handing back to Martin Ragginger out of, I think, 4th place in class. Maybe 5th now. Nylander still leads GT2 ahead of the Aston Martin of Makovici, who has taken that place by dint of the Holzer Porsche having made its pit stop.
Here's the pit stop for the Maserati though. Muller in, Ramos out. Muller was dynamite in his first stint, Graham, dynamite, and he's now got a job of work to do because that car had dropped down from the position he fought it back to. I wonder what he's like in the rain. Are we going to see fireworks? We certainly saw that rapid turnaround from the Maserati. You saw the pit stop there. It was there for as long as it took to change drivers, and then the hose came off and away they went.
Yep, and no question of changing tyres again, already on the wets, and they won't have worn yet. In these conditions, the wets should last well. Back goes Alex Muller, out past the pit lane speed limit, sharp right, and rejoin at the hotel corner.
Now what's happened, of course, is that this car is dropping out of its 4th position on the leaderboard, having made a pit stop, and the timing screens will catch up with that if you're watching it on the internet on mstworld.com. Oh, a little bit squirrely on the brakes there as Alex Muller finds out for himself just how slippery it is, but he'll drop off of his 4th place. We'll have to wait for all the other pit stops to occur before we find out how he's doing, and I'm surprised that was a little bit earlier. I would have expected Maserati to be later for their pit stops, but it may just be they wanted Alex Muller in this car as quickly as they could, and that was Miguel Ramos's 35 minutes and get out.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, Richard, that Muller is the quicker of the 2 drivers in the number 2 Maserati, and the maximum seat time for him is going to bring the best result, providing he can adjust fairly quickly to the conditions which face him now, and which are markedly different from the ones which were not there before, which were not present before. He was on slick tyres, remember, and it was a damp track. Now he's on wet tyres and fully wet circuit.
Very exciting moments when he was out there. Andrea Bertolini putting on his crash helmet in the Maserati pit box. It's his turn again in the number 1 car when Michael Bartels brings it in. And at the moment, timing and scoring says it's Kumpin, Bartels and Sharp. And Ryan Sharp's in the wrong place and has had to be pushed up to his pit box, and that will cost them seconds.
And that may well be a legacy of the condensation inside the car. In fact, if you look at that shot now, you can't see through that side window. It's completely opaque, as is the windscreen pretty much. So they're going to need to try and do something with that if they can. They've got to tear off the screen, which will help for a brief moment. Giving the windscreen wiper a tug backs and forwards probably isn't going to make it work that much better. They're putting a cloth across the inside of the windscreen, but as soon as those doors get closed, more dampness gets in somewhere, because a lot of race cars are never quite waterproof. Yes. The windscreen wiper works manually, but I'm not sure you could have a ride-on mechanic doing that for you.
I'm sure they were hoping that wiper had just seized up, and if they worked the motor a couple of times it would set itself free. But seconds ticking away there in the pits that you will never get back on track, and really they're much better off losing half a second a lap because Carl Wendlinger can't see than they are sat in pit lane twiddling with the windscreen wiper, hoping to get it going. And as you can see, Wendlinger's on his way out of the pit lane now without it, and he's going to have to do the last 26.5 minutes of this race without a windscreen wiper and with condensation building up again on the inside of the screen, although they have wiped it, and as you say, Graham, pulled off the 500 quid ago tear off on the windscreen.
That's a horrifying price, isn't it, for a bit of film? But there is Carl Wendlinger, and
Bertolini has taken over the #1 Maserati, which is in pit lane. Anthony Kumpen is the race leader in the #4 car. This is the #3 car of Bert Longin, who is now showing in 4th place, but might well be 3rd, depending on what happens with Bertolini.
And tucked right up behind him, here's a great result so far for the Matek team. The best placing so far to my memory of a GT1 2010 style car, courtesy, I suspect, of the conditions, which will equalise performance rather more than the dry track would. And Mark Henrique showing his mettle, and up to 5th place overall.
Rain wipes out the performance edge. If you've got more power on a dry track, hooray. When it's raining, you can't use it, and if you do, you tend to do what we've seen so many people do and just slide off if you're a bit too free with your right foot on the throttle. Look at that, fighting the Ford through this corner ahead of Mark Henrique. Bert Longin is taking it very cautiously with the Corvette, and who can blame him in that car in these conditions? And the Ford, I think, is wanting to be past it. I think Henrique thinks he is faster on a lap, and he's going to do it. He's going to have a good try, but Longin on the gas now. It's a drag race to the Shell corner, and the Corvette is bound to win it. Absolutely no trouble, but on the brakes a lot sooner, and that's exactly what we're talking about. And Bert Longin just holding on to this position, and it is a battle for position. Longin wanting to stay clear of the 2010 car, but Mark Henrique really wants this, doesn't he?
He really does, and he'd deserve it if he gets it, which he has now on the inside there, just holding the line, forcing Bert Longin out wide. But again, we're down to a power now, and has he been able to carry enough speed through the final corner? James Rouffier doesn't look too pleased with that result, but I don't think Bert Longin really had any answer to the Ford, which is clearly more nimble through the corners. Coming into that 90 left into turn 1, and Longin can stay with the Matek Ford on straight line speed, but as you were saying, Richard, clearly having to brake earlier and losing a lot of time through the corners.
Condensation on the screen quite clearly visible, even with the wiper visibility is not up to much. Here's Kumpen in the lead of the race after 59 laps. He's going in the 150s at the moment, so his lap times are coming back on. Conditions may well be improving because they were out to the 54s, and on the other hand he's got an empty track in front of him, so it may just be that he's not running in traffic. Mike Hazeman there in the race suit is waiting for his turn to get back in, isn't he? Because we need another pit stop from this car.
And they've got about a minute in hand over Bertolini in the now back in the #1 Maserati, with Alex Muller still showing in 3rd.
And about a minute is what they're going to lose, winding their way through pit lane and doing a driver change. Is about a minute. There's a large part of the pit lane that isn't on the speed limiter, but then there's a part of it that is. And as you said just now, it narrows up very quickly, and Kumpen goes past, so it isn't going to be on this lap.
Not looking to come in this time. Anthony Kumpen will stay out perhaps as long as he possibly can, try and build that advantage and give the pursuing Bertolini less time to take advantage of Mike Hazeman's having to take the car over and maybe even acclimatise slightly to the conditions himself.
If you want to know how bad conditions are out there when you haven't got a windscreen wiper, Carl Wendlinger is now 9th.
And that was Carl Wendlinger, I think, we saw being passed by Kumpen just a moment ago, probably as a legacy of not being able to see out of the front of the car.
dropping out of the points. When they get out of the points, it'll reach a moment where it's probably better to pull it off and park it than take any risks. Here's your GT2 leader though, Tony Vilander, still doing a job in the rain.
And still owing us a pit stop.
Bruni waiting to take it over, 19 minutes, and that's getting a little bit skatey as well. The back end of the AF Corsa Ferrari just starting to get away from Tony Vilander.
Oh, that's another off-track excursion for 56. Who got at this? Rob Bell this time. It was Andrew Cordy. Last time we saw that car heading off into that particular piece of scenery, Rob Bell's decided he wants to go and look at it as well.
And there
exactly
it is.
The same problem.
Yes.
Just coming into that little left-right flick-flack and finding a big puddle. Oh, and he's deranged the rear wing, has he?
Yeah, just slightly wobbling there.
So it's sprung back into place with a bit of luck and fair wing, but hitting unprotected arm goes backwards. If you've got to hit it anyway, hit it backwards, but there's the team rather wishing he hadn't.
At the risk of cursing, with the commentator's curse, that number 4 Corvette that just dropped out of the bottom of our picture, I believe it to be the only car that hasn't had a spin so far.
A little bit of damage
in our
there.
leading group. That has got a bang, hasn't it? But everybody else in our sort of top half a dozen, apart from Mark Henrici, I think all of our leading contenders have had some kind of excitement during the course of the past almost 2 hours.
Yes, they and the Aston Martin that we can see in shot here have been the cars which have been singularly untroubled, if you like, by the conditions. Here's the Aston skating down the inside of the somewhat second-hand now CRS Racing Ferrari, Rob Bell at the wheel, and Stefan Mucker is currently running in 3rd in class. They will be pleased with that.
And Rob Bell doubtless on the wireless to the team, discussing what's happened to the car and what they're going to do about it, if anything.
You'd think at this stage nothing, wouldn't you? Because they've done their 2 mandatory stops. They won't want to bring him back in again. We're on board with the Aston Martin. Stefan Mucker having taken the car back over from Fred Makaviki, and both of these drivers really know how to handle the Aston Martin. It's not a full season entry for us here, I believe, which is a shame, because it would be nice to see them every round.
There are only a couple of cars which owe us a pit stop, 3 or 4 perhaps. One of them is the race leader, and we know Mike Hazeman is waiting for that, and the other one is the GT2 leader, which is at the moment Vilander, who is still I'm waiting for the timing to tell us. P2 in GT2 hasn't crossed the line yet, so I don't know what the gap will be on this lap, but he's got a handsome lead in GT2 as Tony Vilander and Bruni is waiting to take it over.
Yeah, both class leaders currently still doing us pit stops with just a shade over a quarter mile to go.
See, it's so murky you can't see who's out there, and that is Marco Holter, isn't it? Who's taken over the 61 car and is in 1:12 behind Vilander. That is very nearly the lap, isn't it?
Yep, pretty much on song. Sean Edwards had a great stint in the middle of that session, bringing the car up into contention for the class. And Tony Vilander really is doing the business.
Conditions do seem to be improving. Actually, Cook's just dropped down into the 149s on his last lap. Prior to that, the GT2s and GT1s are all lapping at very similar 152s, 53s, 54s. But it does seem as if it might just be drying out a little bit, although we've got heavy rain in places and we do have standing water, which is the biggest problem for everybody.
Darren Turner back on track, having been assisted out of his gravelly moment after something of a delay, which won't have pleased him at all.
Back end breaking away as soon as you touch the throttle.
They too will owe us another stop, won't they? Because there it is coming in. Darren will have to hand back to Michael Crum.
Carl Wendlinger still in 9th place, is still going around 2:01 on his last lap. He's 10 seconds a lap down on the race leaders without a windscreen wiper.
The gap between Kumpen and Bertolini has stayed almost exactly the same at around 58-59 seconds, and at some point Kumpen is going to have to decide when he's going to dive in. Here is the Nissan crew, Michael Crum standing ready at the right hand side of the car there. Out bails Darren Turner, in gets Michael Crum. The two drivers pretty much the same size, no driver seat inserts needed. Just get those buckles done up as quickly as you can.
40 kilos added to this car for being an occasional visitor to the championship. If you don't run the full season, you're awarded a ballast penalty just to encourage you to take part.
Yeah, 40 for having 2 drivers of professional standard, a platinum and a gold. 20 for having, because it's GT2. Yeah, GT2, they get a 20 kilo penalty. But nonetheless, they're towing 60 kilos of ballast around in a development car, and it, I'm sure, doesn't help the team who are trying to develop this car if the weight of the thing is constantly varying. However,
rob you of your base point. This is the 44 car we were admiring earlier on for multiple reasons, not just because it looks like that, because it's actually in 5th place. 2010 Spec Ford GT.
And had made its way up to 4th past Bert Longin, but appears to have lost that place again. Now, whether that's just as it came into pit lane this time through or before, so I wasn't watching the timing screen exclusively, I can't tell you. However, Kumpen still heads the field. 59 seconds still that gap, but they still need to come in and do this final stop. Out goes the Ford. That'll now be back in the hands of Thomas Much. And here is the number 19 car we saw in damage in trouble earlier on. Xavier Marson very much in the wars from turn 1 of the entire race. And
he's in the wall. Will be slower in that car than it was on the Maserati, if only because you need to take the steering wheel off on the corvette, and you've got kiss goodbye to 2 or 3 seconds right there.
Yep, absolutely. We've still got pit stops due from our GT2 leader as well, but let's concentrate on this this one. You can see the in-car shot there, picking its way through the puddles and coming up onto the back of yet another car to be dealt with. Less than 10 minutes now, just ticking under the 10 minutes remaining.
Kumpen leads it, Bertolini, Muller and Longin. That is the top 4. Sasha Masson is still in 5th place despite pirouetting. We've been looking at GT2. Sean Edwards is back with us, and at the moment Lucchini is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in GT2, and he is lapping just a little bit slower than Tim Mullen in front of him. Sean Edwards is with Haley in pit lane. Let's see what he thinks about the day so far.
Sean, you had a great middle stint, and now Marco is really fighting hard to hold on to his position in the race.
Yeah, it's been going great, to be honest, so far. We made a little mistake by coming in too early because he'd been held up by the Ferraris after the chaos at the start. And that way we had to do an extra driver, an extra pit stop to change drivers again, which is unfortunate. Otherwise we'd be leading the race once the number 50 Ferrari pits. But, you know, it's great. We're running second at the moment. High, good pace in the wet. Holds is going great. He's keeping on the track. And, you know, we'll keep pushing to the end and see if we can catch the Ferrari. But we're happy with where we are at the moment.
How was the Porsche feeling in the middle stint once you got into the car and out onto the track?
The conditions were changing every lap. It was really, really difficult, to be honest. There was a lot of standing water around the track, and it was really hard to keep the car pointing in a straight line. But the setup of the car was good. We're a little bit too much understeer, but it's safer in the wet. The traction was great off the corners, and you know, what can I say? You know, we drove out, I think we were the quickest GT2 car on track for a while anyway, and you know, we'll just keep it going.
Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you.
That T word again with Porsche, traction, is very often the key to it. And I'm reading completely the wrong name on the timing screen there before we went to Sean Edwards. And of course, Marco Holzer is actually in 2nd spot rather than further down. Yes. So it's a much better afternoon for them than I thought.
It is, but Stefan Mucker is doing all he can to prize that spot away from them. Several seconds quicker through last time than Holzer. Here's a Ford GT battle, because the battle it is becoming between the two 2010 spec cars. Baz Linders ahead in the silver car with the yellow wing, and this one, number 44, Thomas Much. These two are both the 2010 spec GT40s and fantastic GT Fords, and brilliant cars they are too. Really looking forward to seeing a grid full of this sort of stuff next season.
Thomas Much knows his way around this, of course, from GT3, very quick and very experienced in this. And finally, we get the pit stop that we've been expecting from the number 50 car. 50, now this is going to be very instructive. 57 seconds is the gap between him and the car ahead of him. And when he goes back out, we'll see what happens with... oh, and in comes the number 4 car, so we won't get a guide. They're going to do it together, and both our leaders in the pit together, and let's see what happens as they come to a halt. 53 seconds was the countdown on the clock as Anthony Kumpen hands this over to Mike Hazeman. It's not going to start. Oh, it was so good. It was 8-9 seconds. Now it's got a little bit slower, so they've dropped a couple of seconds, but that was a good fast handover. And of course it didn't need to be on the fuel pipe for very long, so it was just the driver change. But the car we're looking for is just coming around the corner in the background. Andrea Bertolini, I think he's going to be second at the end of the next lap. Hazeman is out by the hotel now, and here comes the car that could have overtaken him in the pits, but hasn't done. Andrea Bertolini was 45 seconds behind last time they went across the start-finish line. Now he is looking up the road to see how much is the gap between himself and the race leader. The Maserati team sat in the pit box watching that. They know that they are second, but where is the Corvette? Looking through the screen of the number one car, looking ahead up the road. Where is that yellow Corvette? And it's gone,
hasn't it?
Sight.
Out of sight is the answer for the moment, Richard. Andrea will have to make short work of passing this CRS Ferrari if he's going to maintain his own lap speeds, which he must do in order to have any chance of tracking down Mike Hazeman. But Hazeman is a wily creature. There's only 5 minutes left in which to try and break down this gap.
The way we're going, there are 3 laps left in this race, so I think it's fair to say that Andrea Bertolini has got 2 hopes of catching Mike Hazeman. Bob Hope.
Yep, and no hope.
And fingers crossed for Mike Hazeman that nothing untoward occurs. Conditions are much better now than they have been. The wiper going full blast on the Maserati. You can see there's less water on our camera lens. There's still a lot of standing water about the place, but the track is starting to dry out a bit, and you can see a racing line there. The tyres have cleared it, and it's making a bit of an easier job, although it's not helping Carl Wendlinger, who still can't see anything out of his windscreen, but he's soldiering on, hoping that he can pick up a point or 2 that might help him in the championship. It's so important that they didn't have a race weekend like this this weekend. So another nightmare weekend for Ryan Sharp and Carl Wendlinger, and here we are, 10.2 is the gap between first and second place. So it's a 10-second gap between this Maserati and the race leader, with 4 minutes left to go before the checkered flag can be unfurled from its becket.
Yeah, Wendlinger and Sharp will still score a few points, of course, because the 2 of the cars ahead of them are the 2010 spec cars, which aren't point scorers in this championship. However, not getting the hatful of points that, as you quite rightly say, they really need to maintain a challenge for the season. Bertolini and Muller, however, will strengthen Vitafone's grip on the team's championship even further.
Very dear to Michael Bartel's heart is the team championship, and at the same time he's got his cars in the right order out on the track, all lined up in the proper 1-2 fashion for the 3rd finish of the year, and that will, as you say, Graham, increase their championship lead, even though they aren't going to collect the complete 10 points. They'll still get the next best thing, and with Wendlinger back down the grid, that's not going to help his cause at all.
No, on board with Michael Krum, having taken over the Nissan from Darren Turner, and back in car with this very, very good sounding. I love the onboard sound from this car.
Nothing quite like a V8, is there?
Throaty growl.
Much slower in the rain than it was in the dry, and much more difficult for everybody as Michael Krum keeps it balanced on that throttle, resists the temptation to nail it until he can see it straight ahead. But even then, a little bit of back-end movement. Hasserode, a long left-hander that takes you through 180 degrees and points you back down the way you came, running back past the pits in the opposite direction. There's something hanging off that Ford that wasn't hanging off it quite as much earlier on, was it?
Yeah, no, it's got a little bit of loose bodywork there, but nothing that's going to upset Baz Liners at this point. What is going to upset him is the pursuing car of Thomas Mutch, which is getting ever closer.
Thomas Mutch, we know, knows his way around this car and is a formidable driver in it. But of course, Baz Linders, we saw a few times when he was driving the vertigo. When the rain comes, Baz Linders comes alive. He can do it, can't he?
Yep, and he's going to have to show how well he can do it now, because Thomas Mutters goes right up onto the rear wing of the similar VDS car, the Mark van der Straten team from Belgium in the silver car against the Swiss Matek team in the black car.
Little battle of honour going on here. Thomas Mutters will be very keen to pass Baz Linders, and I dare say he's going to have a stab at that. 1.5 minutes left, and where are the leaders at the moment? They're in sector 2, so we aren't going to get to... Oh, he's right up behind him. Ooh, that was close. I think we're going to have one more lap out of this one, and so he does have a chance at getting past, but they are so evenly matched on power. Look, as they go through the gears, nothing happens. Grabbing 5th on the run towards Shell, and Baz Linders can't get past the Celine, and Thomas Much can't get past the Ford. And again, will he close up, and will he try and get a run on him on the main straight, or will he try one of those little dives up the inside here that we've seen so many people have a stab at over the weekend? No, he's not. Sort of think discretion, valour, all of those things flashing through his mind, really.
Wouldn't have thought they are just yet. When he gets to the last corner of the very last lap, then discretion and valour might come into it, but for the moment it's red mist, and let's see if we can't get past.
That's a shame.
That's Carl Wendlinger, is it?
Yes, it is.
Pulled off to the side of the track.
Well, he was going to get some points, he now isn't going to get some points. Carl Wendlinger and Ryan Sharp, 2 DNFs in a row, and that's a really difficult hurdle to climb over in a championship season, and that's going to hurt them badly.
You wouldn't want to think that was fuel, would you?
Don't.
However, we're on board with Mike Hasemans, has about a 10-second lead and has been constantly at 10 seconds since pit stops over Andrea Bertolini. Bertolini not able to make any inroads into that any more than Alex Muller has been able to improve his 3rd place. So it's Corvette, Maserati. We're on board with the leading car. The clock has ticked down to 0, so this will be the final time through the Shell and Nebo S's for Mike Hasemans. Up the hill to the right-hander, and he's almost home, Richard.
I'm going to tell you something now that I couldn't say earlier on because I didn't want to do the commentator's curse, but on Friday morning I said to Mike Haseman, I've had enough of this. Go out there and fix it for me and win this race on Sunday, will you? And he is just about to do it. Mike Haseman is over the line at round 3. Checkered flag drops for PK Racing. Anthony Kumpen and Mike Haseman, 2 happy, well, I can say happy Dutchmen. Haseman Dutch and Anthony Kumpen is Belgian. Andrea Bertolini and Michael Bartels will be very pleased, thank you, with 2nd as far as the championship's concerned. But that isn't what Michael Bartels came here for, is it?
No, he didn't. He came here to win. This is Germany. It's just their home round. Baz Linders has managed to keep the VDS team Ford ahead of the Matek, so well done to them, and that's a very good result. 5th, 6th and 7th overall for the 2 2010 cars in that spec.
And what's happening in GT2? Where is our leader?
There he is.
Heaving out of the mist just in time. First time this year for Tony Vlielander and Jimmy Bruni to take the GT2 checkered flag, and that's going to be especially important to them, A, because their other car is still going. Oh, no, it's not, is it? Because Collard and Westbrook aren't going, and will score nil point here. That will bring the championship a little bit more into focus for them and make title defence seem a little bit more feasible with that checkered flag, and you can see the team are very happy with that one.
Yep, absolutely, although in the team's championship, of course, having had Marco Holzer and Sean Edwards come home in 2nd place, which they're about to do, ahead of Stefan Mucker and Fred Makovici in the Aston Martin, and there is the Porsche coming home in 2nd place with the Aston, hoving out of the Miston interview in 3rd, so that was close.
Just going over the line on the left of the screen beside that Porsche was the Nismo GTR, so 2 hours and a checkered flag for them is precisely what they came here for. And how about this? This is going to be a popular win, a very popular team, and Mike Haseman absolutely lives and breathes this sport and these cars, and everybody knows that and recognises it. That's a good win for him. It's not really going to upset the balance of the championship very much, but just reward for a good weekend's work and staying out of trouble rather magnificently on lap 1 when it all went horribly wrong for almost everybody around him.
Yes, qualifying down in 7th place turned out not to be too bad a thing, did it? Because it meant that the first lap accident could happen out of his way, and Hazelman's just had to pick his way through the carnage and sail off into the lead.
Well, there it is. Round 3, and we have the first Corvette win of the year. I wonder if it's going to be the only one of the season. And I can see that Haley has already got Mike Hazelman down there to find out how he feels about that one.
Congratulations, Mike. That certainly was a fantastic race to watch, but how was it for you?
Yeah, it was very nice. At the beginning, we were lucky with the start. We had yesterday, I went off in the qualifying, so I didn't do that good, but today it was really, we changed the car. We had so much understeer, and we completely changed the car for today. And it worked very well. I was amazed by my pace in the dry, that I could so easily. Then it was raining a little bit, so I slowed down. I just want to control the gap, and now I just did 4 laps in the rain. But it was easy to drive, so very nice.
Those larger restrictors that the GT Bureau issued on the Corvettes, do you think that's contributed to this win?
No, I think, yeah, for sure it helps, but it doesn't. Now in this circumstances, it's difficult to say. You really have to say where we are in Spa, because then it's a really track which also the power helps, hopefully. So here, you know, even the power, it doesn't. It's such a small circuit, and the circumstances were so different. So, but I'm happy I won.
Certainly is.
Thank you,
Andrea
Mike.
Bertolini congratulating him there, and he's obviously delighted with that one, and now going to find the rest of the drivers and make his way up towards the podium, and he needs to hook up with his teammate Anthony Kumpen, who did a large part of the work this weekend. That was Anthony, wasn't it?
There he is. Yeah, did a sterling job in the middle session, Anthony Kumpen, and the pair of them deserve this result. It's been a long time coming this season.
Top step of the podium always feels good, doesn't it? And as we say, the Vitaphone team, from a championship point of view, will be happy to have finished in this order. What they won't be happy about, of course, is not winning their home race for only the second time since they've started racing that car and coming here.
Yes, they had to give best to Aston Martin last year and to Corvette this time.
So Ramos in 3rd place with Alex Müller, Longin and Ruffier 4th, Masson and Thomas Biaggi will be reasonably satisfied to have saved 5th place out of what looked like a complete disaster on turn 1 at the start of the race. And how good for the Ford GTs, and for everybody who's looking forward to 2010 to see that the 2 of them have pulled right up to the tail end of this year's GT1 cars in the rain. And that's a significant factor.
Yep, and they're in 9th place overall is the Tony Vilander, Jimmy Bruni AF Corsa Ferrari F430 in the GT2 category. Marco Holzer and Sean Edwards, can't say enough about that. That was a great effort from the youngsters in the number 61 Pro Speed car to come in 2nd ahead of the Hexus Aston Martin, which managed as much as anything to stay out of trouble and keep the times consistent.
Race leader for the entire period except the pit stops, and a faultless performance from these guys brings them their first checkered flag of the season. It's a championship very much at all,
no.
But on the other hand, it's delighted the team. It gives them a reason for being here more than anything.
Absolutely, and evidence that there's hope yet for places like Spa, where the bigger restrictor that Haley was mentioning to Mike will come into its own. You can see how difficult the conditions have been here this afternoon. Only one GT1 car failed to make it to the finish, but the GT2 listing is thus. Tony Vilander, Jim Bruni, almost as expected, I think now, finally get to the top of the podium. It's been a a difficult start to the season for them, but finally back where they, I'm sure, feel they belong. Marco Holzer and Sean Edwards putting in team points for Pro Speed, and Hexus Aston Martin scooping the final podium stop ahead of Kristniakos and Tim Mullen, who, rather like the Aston Martin, managed largely to stay out of trouble and have been rewarded with a 4th place ahead of the Brixia car of Ragginger and Lucchini.
Good win then for the defending champions, and it will definitely give them something to think about as they go to the next round in Spa. They are going to collect a little bit of extra weight, and of course Collard and Westbrook are going to lose a little bit of weight.
Yes, they are, and they're going to a circuit and a configuration of race 24 hours, which historically has been a good one for Porsche, although Ferrari have had their fair share of 24-hour wins in recent years.
Yes, I think gone are the days when you could automatically assign a Porsche to the win in a 24-hour race. The 430 in particular has shown that it can do the longer races and do them at racing speed for the whole 24 hours. And a very happy Maserati crew, I'm sure, to come away with an increased lead in the championship. There's 2 happy drivers as well. Look at this, the Mark VDS crew coming out onto the podium. 2010 Ford GT right up there in the results this year. Ramos and Muller. What a colourful race they've had. I'm just looking for a word to sum up their 2 hours, and it was just eventful, wasn't it?
It was busy. It was busy. There was seldom any boredom to be had in that car, any more than there was for Bartels and Bertolini, but their race perhaps a little more steady. Alex Muller was very keen to do well this afternoon, and although he's on the podium, he'll be disappointed not to be at least 1 step higher than the 3rd they achieved. There are your winners, so Anthony Kumpen and Mike Hasemans. Hasemans on the left, Kumpen on the right.
National anthem, and now the traditional presentation of silverware, followed by the runaway sprays of champagne.
Well deserved this afternoon too, and well earned, and of course just as the race comes to an end, so does the rain, the conditions having cleared up remarkably in the last 5 minutes. But the elements provided some of the excitement for us this afternoon.
And Toyner Hasemans on the back of the shot there, behind the trophy presentation. Father of Mike, racer himself of old, and one of the driving forces in the team. Still here every weekend that we go racing. Still there in the pit box with the computers and the strategy all through Sunday morning. And it's no wonder really that Mike's grown up feeling the same way about it.
No, exactly so. I mean, it really is in the blood with that family. There are Bartels and Bertolini celebrating their 2nd place.
Bit of low-key clapping from the Maserati crew. I'm sure they really, really wanted to win this race. Michael Bartels wants to win every race, but especially his home circuit. And Haseman and Kumpen will be pleased with that. I wonder if this means the Corvette can mount a challenge for the championship. It's a little bit late in the day. We've had 2 missed opportunities.
Nico Ramos missing no opportunity to soak everybody. Alex Muller joining in the fun as well. Revenge will be had. Yes, exactly. Mike Hasemans trying to put the hood up and stay out of the way. Great scenes up on the balcony as ever after these races, and the more thoughtful of the drivers will share their fizz with the teams.
And you can see in the background that the rain put off a lot of spectators and sent them scurrying for shelter. It has stopped now, and they're beginning to emerge from their cars and wherever they've been hiding. and make an appearance. And their reward is an absorbing and interesting race. And as they do the traditional thing and lob the champagne bottles down to the team and make way for the GT2 crews on the podium, I'm tempted to ask you, Graham.
Ask away.
Man of the match.
Man of the match. Oh gosh.
Not him for a start.
Gosh, there are several drives that really stood out for me. In GT2, one that really made me sit up was Sean Edwards. In GT1, as we look at some highlights anytime now, I'm sure, of the whole race, I'm going to say Alex Muller.
Well, that was our race highlights as predicted. This is our GT2 podium as predicted. And I've got to say, I'm finding it difficult to disagree with the choice of our high performers, star performers of this weekend. And there is Sean Edwards nearest the camera at the moment. But on the other hand, there were so many jolly fine recovery drives going on out there. There were some stupendous performances from different people. Yeah. I mean, Philander and Bruni never put a foot wrong during the whole 2 hours.
No. And you could equally pick out Jörg Bergmeister for his first stint, but then he spoiled it by spinning off. So I think, you know, that's one thing that Sean Edwards didn't do, and it was his middle stint that elevated the 61 Pro Speed car up the ranks for Marco Holzer to take it over and bring the car home in that second place.
Well, it's a while since we've heard the Italian national anthem after a GT2 race, but there it is for the first time this year, and I venture to suggest probably not the last.
No, you'd think not, wouldn't you? Now they're back in stride, there's every possibility that they'll march on to another season.
Superb job from Philander and Bruni in the rain, and to be fair, the Porsches still had the speed. We wait to see what happens when we get to the next round at Spa.
Für die Sieger, für Toni Philander und Gian Maria Bruni haben wir Rüdiger Erben, den